How's it going, everyone? Sean here from Raw Technique Studios. You can check out my stuff at hiphopaudioschool.com. That's where you can find mixing courses, templates, also my online mixing and mastering services, and more. All right, so let's jump into this video. I'm going to go over 3 things in this video. The first one is recording levels, because I've been asked a lot about that recently. Compression. Another thing I've been asked a lot about recently, so I want to cover that. And then lastly, this week's sale, because every week I'm doing a new sale on either a product or a service on my website at hiphopaudioschool.com. All right, so the first thing is the recording levels. A lot of people have been asking me what levels they should be recording at. Now, I have been saying the same thing for a long time on this channel. My peak average is going to be between minus 12 dB and minus 18 dB on the peak. If you average somewhere in there when you're recording, then great, you're going to have plenty of headroom to work with. You're not going to have to worry about clipping. You'll be good to go. Now, some people on YouTube or wherever say record hot. You record as loud as you can without clipping. I don't agree with this, because that's something that was only applicable in the past. In the past, there was very noisy equipment, so you would record hot so that you don't have to turn everything up with that noise coming with it. So if you record hot, you avoid getting that noise brought up later. You're just already, the vocals hot. So the problem with that now is you don't need to do it, and you're risking clipping for no reason. So we're recording in 24-bit. Well, that's plenty of dynamic range with very, very, very low noise floors. We have microphones with very low self noise. We have good preamps that don't have a lot of noise. You don't have to worry about the noise anymore. So there's no reason to risk clipping your signal and ruining your recording when you don't have to. So I record in that minus 12 to minus 18 dB range. So let's go ahead, look at the peaks here, and we'll also look at the meter, which is simply keep it in the green. That's as simple. If you don't even want to look at the numbers, which sometimes I don't even look at the numbers, I just look at the meter and look, all right, it's in the green. I'm not getting close to clipping. I could get louder or I could get quieter. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to get close to clipping. I'm not way down here, barely getting signal. I'm staying right here around the middle. That's the simplest way to look at it. But say you're over here on the volume. Hold down Command, click once, click again. Now you have peaks. Refresh it. Check 1, 2, check, check, check. I'm at minus 17 right there. What if I get a little bit louder? Check 1, 2, check, 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 check 1, 2. Now I'm at minus 12. That's fine, because I'm averaging between minus 12 to minus 18 dB. That's the zone that I like to stay in. That's what I tell everybody. Every time I get a message about what level do I record at, that's what I'm going to tell them. All right, so let's now move on to the second part of this video, which is compression. I'm going to be using a very simple compressor, just something that is like a go-to compressor for me, Rcomp. If you don't have this compressor and you're looking for one, or even if you could just use the stock one in your DAW, honestly. But if you want this compressor, I'll have a link down to it below. You could check it out. It's from Waves. It's cheap and it works great. I use it all the time. All right, so I'm going to go with just a very basic ratio of 3:1. This is very common on vocals, sometimes 2:1, sometimes 4:1, but let's just stay in the middle and go with 3:1 ratio here. All the ratio means is whatever goes over the signal, so over my threshold. So right here, every time this part lights up like that, that's going over the threshold. Then the ratio is going to tell me whatever goes over the threshold, it's going to be a 3:1. So that means if 3 dB go over, only 1 dB is actually coming through. So you're not going to have super loud stuff come through anymore. It's now getting brought down. So let's say 6 dB of loudness goes over your threshold. Well, only 2 dB are going to get through. So 3:1, if you multiply it up to 6, then now it's 2 dB, 6 to 2. And then say you double that, 12, it would be 12 to 4. So it's just, that's how it goes. All right. That's the ratio. Typical is 3:1. It's a very simple thing to do, is just throw 3:1 on there. Most likely that's going to work out the best. Next thing is set your threshold. You could average, say on the louder parts, maybe like on average, I would say maybe 3 dB, 4 dB of attenuation. So that's this number right here. So check 1, 2, check, 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 check 1, 2, check. You can see that the loudest one was minus 5.1. Check 1, 2, check, check, check. There's a minus 3.3. All right, so I would average something around 3 dB or so. Even if the louder signal is 5 or so that it would be pulling down, I'm going to want to shoot for, on average, about minus 3 dB on the attenuation. This is just a general thing. You could hit it much harder. You could get much more attenuation out of it. But this is just in general what I typically look for on one of my compressors. I tend to use maybe 2 to 3 compressors on a vocal. But this is what I'm looking for on, say, the first compressor. All right, now the attack, and then I'll go over the release and the gain. So the attack, this is something that you could experiment with, but just as like something I think of when I go to set my compressor, it's very simple for me. If it's a faster sounding vocal, then I'm going to do a little bit more of a quicker attack to it. Like a rap vocal, it might be a little bit faster. I'm going to go quicker on the attack. If it's more singing style, laid back, I'm going to go a little bit slower on the attack. That just means that when does the compression actually start happening? Does the compression start in 2 milliseconds after the signal hits the compressor? Or does it start in 10 milliseconds after it hits the compressor? It's up to what you set right here. So I'm going to say, let's say it's like a 4 milliseconds, and then it's going to hit the compressor. So that would be fine. I could go to 2 milliseconds if I want it to be quicker, or I could back it off and do about 10 milliseconds, like an LA2A style attack time, where it's a little bit slower and it'll kind of go with the. I think of it like I don't even know what this is, a wave or something. I think of it like if the vocal sounds like this, then I want my attack to be like, all right, it's not going to go like that. It's not going to start right away. It's going to go like that with the vocal. If it's a quick, my vocals are going ta 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 ta. I want my attack to be like ta 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 as well, so it's going to be faster attack. So that's just how I think of it: is faster attack on a faster vocal, slower attack on a slower vocal. So I'm going to go about 4 milliseconds on the attack time. The release is how long does it take for the signal to release after it passes below the threshold. So does it take a long time to recover, or does it recover pretty quick? So typically I just stay in the middle, like somewhere around 200 milliseconds, 150, somewhere around there is typically good. But say you have a vocal that you want it to recover quick enough in order to not still be compressed as that signal comes in. So if your release is really long, then a long release means that, like, I'll just show you right here. Here's a super long release. See that? See how long it's taking to recover? And then here's a fast release. Check, check, check. It's really quick. And somewhere in the middle. Check, check, check. I like to stay in the middle because that's typically something that's going to work out the best for my vocal performances that I'm compressing. All right, so that's what the release is. How long does it take to recover after the threshold is brought back, or it goes back under the threshold? All right, so set your threshold to where you're getting about that -3 or so. You have your ratio 3:1, so you're getting some compression there. Attack, I'm doing it on the faster side, about 4 milliseconds here, and release is just in the middle. These buttons down here, automatic release compensation. So manual just means it's not helping your release. This just means it's helping your release. I like to keep it on because it's helping my release time work with the music. It's not going to stay right at 171 the entire time. It'll help me a little bit, which is great. So I'm going to leave that on. Electro or opto. So are you doing more like slow type, like a LA2A is an opto compressor, or electro is, I just use that for like the faster type. Warm versus smooth. I believe warm adds harmonics somewhere in the signal. Smooth doesn't. So it's up to you. It's not that noticeable. So it's not going to make a huge difference between the two, but experiment with it if you'd like. Output, whatever your average reduction is, or you could do it at the whatever this peaks at, you could set your output at. So let's say I'm averaging -4, then I could put it +4 on here. So that's compression is simply turning stuff down. That's all compression is. It's turning whatever goes over the threshold down. And then your output gain or your makeup gain is simply turning the overall signal, that entire compressed sound, back up. So all these spikes that are happening are being leveled off. So say here's your threshold and here's the spikes. They're going like this. Well, here's your threshold now. They're not going over that threshold anymore. And this whole signal is brought down. So it was up here. Now it's right here. That's as high as it's going. Well, now you want this signal where the quiet parts and the louder parts, you want that overall signal back up to where it was, so you're not losing volume, but you are having compression happening. So some people use compression just to make things louder, but that's not really what it's meant for. Compression actually makes things quieter. The makeup gain is what makes things either back to what they were or louder. So it's just more squished. Quiet parts and louder parts are more closer together. That's all compression is. All right, so super quick example here. I'm going to record my vocals. Check, 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 1, 2, check, 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 1, 2. Loud parts, quiet parts. Those are your dynamics in your vocal. All vocals are going to be fairly dynamic, and compression simply levels them out. So I could go in here and volume them separately, or I could just use a compressor to do it for me, or I could do a little bit of both. So let's go ahead and look at this. I'm going to pop this up so it's a little bit bigger here. Let's match it here. All right. This signal is going to be compressed through my compressor here. I'm sending it through an output bus 23 and into a new audio track bus 23 input. That way so I could print it onto the new track and you could visually see the compression. All right, so here we go. I'm going to record the compression onto it, and let's see what it looks like. Check, 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 1, 2, check, 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 1, 2. I'm going to zoom out one here so you can see the spike. That spike actually really got handled a lot better. It's much smaller there. This one, it's a little bit smaller. So it's more compressed, it's more even. Now we could be more drastic with it. So let's refresh this. Let's see what we're actually getting here. So I'm going to do that again. Check, 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 1, 2, check, 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 1, 2. All right, so this one, that's a huge minus 9.6 is the peak on this one, or the attenuation on this one. And that's why you could really see the difference there. All right, now let's do something more dramatic. Let's say I'm going to bring my threshold down. I'm really going to smash this one just so you could see what it looks like. Check, 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 1, 2, check, 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 1, 2. There's compression for you. It really just levels things out. Quiet things are going to be brought up once you do the makeup gain, and the louder things are going to be brought down, so that compresses the signal. All right, so there's what compression looks like when it's overdone. I wouldn't do that much. I would back it off to where it was. Check, 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 1, 2, check, 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 1, 2, check. Maybe something like that. That might be a little much anyways, but let's just compare the two. Here it is without compression. So let's switch it over to our main outputs here. Without compression, check, 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 1, 2, check, 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 1, 2. And with compression, check, 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 1, 2, check, 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 1, 2. Much more in your face sounding, even though it's not technically louder. So let's look at the peaks real quick. Here's the peaks. Check, 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 1, 2, check, 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 1, 2. This top one, the loudest point is minus 8.1. This bottom one, the loudest point is minus 12.7, but this one sounds louder overall because everything's more even and more in your face. So that's what compression does. It just gets things more leveled out and in your face sounding, and it sounds great. So now the third thing in the video, which is the sale for the week, and it's going to be on my mixing service. The sale for the week is $50 off. So it's going to be a limit to one song per person because I don't want to have a bunch of songs come in and I won't be able to keep up with it, especially at a discount. So one song limit per person. If you're interested, fill out the form here on hiphopaudioschool.com. Fill out this form. Let me know your artist name, your email, your budget. I'll just tell you right now what my typical rates, it would be about $200 on average is the starting point, and then it goes up from there depending on how many tracks, how much editing, how much tuning, all that is needed for a song. So the minimum is $200. The sale right now is $50 off, so that would be $150 for the mix and master. So as long as your song doesn't have a bunch of stuff to it, I'll most likely just be like $200. Let's take the 50 off and work on the song. Link to your music. I love to hear your music that you already have because I want to see how can I work with your style to make it better? How can I improve on the quality that you already have on your older music? A WeTransfer link or a Google Drive link or Dropbox link of the audio files, or if you're in Pro Tools, the Pro Tools session and audio files folder, a link to that there, so that I could get that downloaded and we could work. All right, so if you're interested in getting $50 off your mixing and mastering this week, hit me up through the form here at hiphopaudioschool.com, or just simply email me if you want, rawtechniquestudios@gmail.com. Shoot me an email, say, I saw the video, I want that $50 off this mix, and I'll hook you up. If you're getting a mix done and you don't mention this video, I'm not going to give you that $50 off. And if you saw this video after the fact, I'm not going to go refund you $50. So you got to mention it when we get started, or else it's going to be normal price, because that's the reason you spent the time to watch this video and get to this deal part. So just mention, I saw your video on YouTube and I saw you were mentioning offering $50 off your mixing this week, and I'll hook you up and get that going. All right, so thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully I could work with some new people watching, and even if you're a return client and you want to cash in on this $50 off, then let me know. All right, so thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.